I got to actually celebrate with a family. I actually had a tree, presents under the tree and stuff, and it was nice.
It had been a long time since Mason Martinez had a Christmas worth remembering. Now he was spending it with Angelle Lewis and her family.
It was really special to get to kind of let Mason be a part of that holiday with us, and I felt really proud to have him with us and meeting everybody. I felt like I was able to give him a bigger family.
Mason and Angelle met in November 2019. She was his driver's ed instructor.
He just had such a light about him, and he was just so easy to be around, and I was just really drawn to who he was.
While on their drives, Angelle learned more about the 16-year-old.
In 2016, my mother passed away, and that's when everything changed. There were times living with my dad that I would only get to eat like one time a day because we couldn't afford to buy more food. For a while, I didn't even celebrate Christmas with my dad. You know, Christmas came around, we would eat, say maybe Merry Christmas, but like no tree, nothing.
By then, he had no home and was staying with a friend's family temporarily. Mason says it felt like even God didn't want him.
Growing up, I was Christian with my mom, and then after she passed, I kind of like threw it away for a little bit. Felt betrayed. I felt like God left me alone.
That was about to change. Angelle and her husband Ronnie had been foster parents for years, but had decided to take a break from the challenges of raising foster kids. After meeting Mason, Angelle told Ronnie that she believed God was telling them they should rethink the idea.
I can tell you, after spending an hour with Mason, I knew that our work with foster care was not over. I knew that there was a possibility he could be in our home. I do remember going home after the initially meeting him and telling my husband that this is the kind of kid I wish we could have fostered. So when I brought up the idea of Mason, it wasn't hard to get him on board.
Later, Angelle discovered she and Mason had something in common.
I lost my mom. One thing I've just learned over time after losing a mom is it's a club that nobody wants to be in. And so instantly, when he told me about his mom, of course I had the maternal instinct kick in, but also I resonated with that.
Then came the Christmas holidays. Even though Mason spent them with his friend's family, he still felt alone.
I was very appreciative that they took me in and stuff, but it didn't feel like I was their kid. They took me in as like, okay, he's just staying here. Like, I didn't feel like I was a part of the family.
While Mason was too old to take in as a foster child, Angelle told him if he ever needed anything or a place to stay, he could call her. A month later, in January 2020, he took her up on that offer.
I reached out to her. I was like, is there any chance I would be able to come live with y'all? And she said, we can talk about it more when we invite you over to dinner in a little bit.
We were gonna invite him to live with us that night. I could just kind of see him looking around. He asked me what my address was. I did not realize that he was putting pieces of a puzzle together at that moment, so I just nonchalantly told him my address, and I watched a wave of emotion come over him.
I was like, this is my old house. I was in disbelief. Like, I thought, like, it was a sign of something, like this is where I needed to be. Like, I was home. I was actually home.
Mason was just a child when his family moved out years before, when his mom was still alive.
And so instantly we were both full of emotion. He asked if he can go to his old bedroom. And so I was like, of course, you're welcome to go anywhere you want. It was very clear to all of us that Mason was gonna come live with us, and he moved in that weekend.
I say it felt like to be with Miss Angelle and Mr. Ronnie and like that family, it felt like I was like back at home, like I was reunited with a family.
That year, Mason graduated high school and enlisted in the Army. After 10 weeks of boot camp, he came home just in time for Christmas.
For me, it was I was trying to just make him as much of a part of my family as I could. We did the same traditions. He did scavenger hunts the same as my boys have always done. And for him, that was something new and exciting. That year, he was a Christmas gift to my family.
Mason says through the Lewis's love and generosity, a new family wasn't the only gift he received.
You know, God was brought back into my life. Like, with everything that happened after that, like, it was kind of like, to me, how I perceived it was basically like God saying, like, I'm still here.
I tell people I have 3 boys and one of them's a bonus son, and sometimes they feel like maybe that's a stepson or something, but Mason is a bonus in a totally different way because God gave him to me and to our family.